becomes law. At this moment, there are two ways in which the law applies to you, all of us. Anyone who's married, there are two ways, there are two areas of the law. There's the common law, and then there is statutory law. All of us, whether we know it or not, we covered by the common law. Whether you know it or not, don't for a moment imagine that your wife cannot take you to court if you are married only in a masjid. Every Muslim personal law case, from Ismail versus Ismail 1983 up to Hassan versus Jacob of 2009, each one of those was a marriage in the masjid only a nikah. And yet the husband or the wife could take the husband to court, or the wife could take the matter to court, or somehow or the other, because you are covered by the common law of this country. There is no such a thing as a legal no man's land. The only way you're going to get out of the long arm of the common law in this country is by going to live in Swaziland or Lesotho or something, in which case you will be governed by their law. The other area of the law is the statutory law. There are three different statutory laws existing in this country at this moment. There's the Marriages Act of 1961, then there's the Civil Unions Act, which was created for those with a slanted sexual orientation. We don't want to go and marry under that one anyway. And then there's the Customary Marriages Act, which is according to customary African law. Now, none of those three comply with Sharia. If you marry under any of those, the consequences that flow from it will not conform to Sharia. Government is offering us the opportunity to have another one, have another statute, which is Muslim Personal Law, Muslim Marriages Bill, which will become the Muslim Marriages Act. If it becomes the Muslim Marriages Act, then Muslims are permitted, not forced. Muslims will be permitted to marry under that act. Once they choose to marry under that act, then the consequences, the provision of this act will then apply to them. As for those Muslims who have a problem with the act, they can stay in the common law space, but constitutional challenge faces them as well. Constitutional challenge doesn't arise as a result of an act of a law. Constitutional challenge faces everyone. A few years ago, 2003, Dutway versus Syria in the Constitutional Court. Dutway took Syria to court, to the Constitutional Court. They were only married in the nikah ceremony, but she claimed the universal partnership. She claimed the universal partnership, which by the way did not succeed. But the very fact that she could take him means that someone else could take her husband to court on similar grounds. You're not covered by being in the common law space. The same challenges which exist here exist there. We take cognizance of that. The opposition, unfortunately, do not take cognizance thereof. They feel that by staying in the common law area, they are safer. Not necessarily so. They feel that if you, for the sake of registration, go and register under the Marriages Act of 61, well, that is taking one little bit of South African law and at the same time taking a whole lot of chains of South African law and putting them around your arms and your legs and violating the Sharia by the same time. At the same time, rather. Now, lastly, after having discussed the matter of choice, I'll briefly just give a rundown of the process up to now. 1995, the first Muslim Personal Law Board was formed. That Personal Law Board didn't last very long, so it was disbanded, not because government had a problem, but because Muslims had tensions with one another. I should know I was a part of that particular board. And I was there when the decision was taken to disband. It had nothing to do with government, it was all internal tensions. Then government decided, well, we cannot just leave Muslims out in the cold simply because they couldn't get along. We will appoint a body. They appointed a project committee under the leadership of Justice Muhammad Nafsa, who is at the moment the judge of the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. In that particular project committee, they were represented ulama, they were represented lawyers, people from the Law Commission, people from the gender lobby, everyone was there. This particular group eventually produced a draft bill. That bill was circulated, many commented upon it, they were collated and published. That was eventually then given to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice sat with this thing for almost a decade because, again, tensions within the Muslim community, we couldn't get along as we cannot get along on so many other matters. Eventually, government has now decided to open the door on this process again. How did they do it? They took that bill which we submitted to them, they looked through it, and they see how much does it conform to the existing legal structures in South Africa. What they found do not conform, they struck that out and they gave us this bill. They said, well, here it is, not law. It's not law, it's not cast in stone yet. They say, this is what we offer you, see if it conforms to your Sharia or not. We have the opportunity now to say that, well, that particular clause doesn't conform, we're striking it out. We want this in the Act, so we're putting this in. This is what we have done, having gone through the bill several times, 4 or 5 times. Document which I have in front of me is the United Ulama Council's 5th version of the bill. 5 times it was worked through. 3 of those 5 times happened within the last week. It was from beginning to end. It was gone through with a fine comb and everything that somehow or the other impacts upon, impinges upon Sharia in a negative way was removed. After this, what still needs to be done, our motivations for asking what we are asking for needs to be very clearly spelled out. Eventually, this will be, first of all, circulated to all the UUCSA constituent members, thereafter submitted to the minister, and then we wait. Then the ball is in their court, and then we wait for it to come back. At that point, we will be able to see how much are they prepared to accept of our demands. That is a rundown of the process up to now. It brings me more or less to the end of my presentation. I don't know how close we are to Salah, but if there is time for questions, then we start right now, inshallah.